This is the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reed on 101 ESPN.
One week after the pageantry, 1 week after the storybook narrative of all storybook narratives, there was no joy to be found, none whatsoever, in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Greetings, everybody, and welcome into the latest edition of the College Football Connection, Week 9 overtime style for you on the 101 ESPN YouTube channel as well as 101ESPN.com. My name is Bradford Bruns. Hey, we fully understand if you're out there struggling on this Sunday, you're struggling to get up, you're struggling to process some of those emotions, you're downright in your feels, stemming from Saturday's 34-0 rout at the hands of the Crimson Tide. We get it. By the same token, we are here to outline what still, may be available to the Tigers in 2024. Nonetheless, let's not sugarcoat it, right? Rather, let's dive right into the festivities at Bryant-Denny Stadium, a must-win situation for both programs. Number 21 Mizzou traveling to Tuscaloosa, where the Crimson Tide at number 15, those guys trying to avoid 3 losses in a single season before November, that is, for the first time since 2006. The spotlight, the criticism, and scrutiny surrounding Kalen DeBoer in year number 1, replacing Nick Saban, all of that has really hit a fever pitch. And on the opposite end of the spectrum for Missouri, despite what you accomplished against Auburn just a few days ago, if you didn't figure out a way to get through this one with the dub, despite all of those injuries, you knew that basically, for all intents and purposes, your college football playoff berth hopes, slim, marginal as they were, they're all but going to evaporate. That's precisely what happened, but it didn't appear to be that dire, did it? Through the first quarter plus of action. No, instead, Missouri is fully in that game, entrenched in that game. It's 3-0 with Corey Batoon's defensive unit playing as well as it has at any point during the campaign. Yes, you shut out Murray State and Buffalo to begin the season in succession, right? But those were lightweights. We understand that Alabama, while not being as prolific as it has been in recent years, what an entirely different ball game. This unit, though, playing in a manner befitting its status, entering the contest as a top 12 unit in the entire nation. And Johnny Walker Jr., I will say for the first time this season, fully putting his fingerprints all over the action, wreaking havoc in the backfield, sacking Milroe twice, and generally making him uber uncomfortable. Things going pretty well, all things considered. Cook wasn't exactly marching the offense up and down the field. I'm not going to pretend about that, but at least Luther Burden saw a target or two. Brett Norfleet also active, involved in the proceedings. Halfway through the second quarter, in any event, it's only 6-0. The Crimson Tide not exactly gouging your defense, doing the opposite, quite honestly, and yet the single worst imaginable scenario manifests itself for Eli Drinkwitz and the Tigers. Number 12 checks out once more, but it's not because of the lower body injury, parentheses, high ankle sprain, this time around. No, as confirmed by Drinkwitz following yesterday's verdict, an upper body ailment sidelines Cook about halfway through the action in the second stanza. And from that point forward, everything spiraled. You can speculate as to what the TV broadcast aired beginning the third quarter with Cook on the sidelines, in street clothes, the arm or the hand rather, in a wrap. That is speculation. The concrete evidence that we saw from number 6 replacing him, Drew Pine, well, quite frankly, that's all you needed to see. Because mere days after trying to orchestrate this offense in lieu of Cook for that stretch of the game versus Auburn and averaging a grand total of 3.7 yards per attempt, not being able to move the football at all, even on simple rudimentary out patterns, Pine checks into this contest, immediately throws an interception that Alabama returns 31 yards to get to the Missouri 31-yard line, or 35 rather, with mere minutes remaining in the first half. Turn that into a touchdown and make it 13-0 right before the half, before intermission. And at that point in time, instantly you felt the collective air in the balloon begin to deflate. The defense is not off the hook here either, not by any means. Not when you saw just a few weeks ago against Texas A&M. How does this unit respond coming out of the locker room at halftime? By allowing a 75-yard touchdown scamper by Moss to begin the second half. The defense, once again, it doesn't fold, but it is pounded up the gut and to the outside by the Bama ground game in the second half. Alabama immediately puts up a touchdown. It's 20-0, and it builds, it snowballs from there. All told, at the end of this contest, the Crimson Tide winding up with 271 yards on the ground. And a lot of those statistics at the end of the game, that final box score, not representative of how the Missouri defense did play for considerable stretches of the action. When you are out on the field for the majority of the second half, and there is no hope that the other side of the football can string together first downs, can sustain drives, you're going to wear down because it's still Alabama up front. You competed in the trenches for upwards of 30 minutes, but then it fell apart. Why? Because a quarterback such as Milroe, irrespective of what you want to say about his abilities going down the field and making or missing connections with the esteemed likes of Ryan Williams and Prentice, he's still Milroe. The sheer athleticism, size, and speed, sooner or later, he's going to get his, right? And he did precisely that against Mizzou. Meanwhile, if you're talking about Star Watch on the opposite side of the football, you wonder where somebody like Luther Burden, where the mind space, the headspace is right now. In that marquee showdown, the marquee billing, the 2:30 kickoff, prime game against Alabama, this surefire first-round pick in next year's NFL draft, he totals 3 receptions for 3 yards. He picked up more yards rushing the football on a direct snap, wildcat formation, however you want to categorize it, than he did out wide. It's simply unacceptable. It has been unacceptable the degree to which he has not been involved early in games in the game plans. We digress a little bit, though. That is diverging from the main topic here, which is that Missouri now sits at 6-2. And Missouri has ample time, once again, shades of that post-Vanderbilt fallout, right, that could have been leading into the Texas A&M game, to regroup, to fine-tune, figure out some things for the stretch run, with the Sooners not arriving at Faurot Field until November the 9th. Now, however, things do look to be trending in a decidedly more dire direction, because you have no clue as to what is going on with Cook at QB. Depending on the extent, the severity of that injury, upper body, lower body, is a week plus, close to 2 weeks, going to be enough to get him back on the field? Or now are you doomed in the month of November, regardless of how the Sooners game plays out? And Oklahoma right now looks like a lower rung SEC team. Make no mistake about it. Lost badly to Ole Miss just yesterday to drop to 500 on the season. Well, there's Oklahoma and then Mississippi State, and also ran, if ever there were one, in league play, followed by South Carolina in the other Columbia on the road. And we know how this team has, how Mizzou has been able to show up on the road this season, been able to show up for big games during the Eli Drinkwitz tenure. That's fair. It's fair speculation. And then you conclude your regular season against Arkansas, a much improved Razorback squad, at the tail end of November, past Thanksgiving. How many wins, how many games in which you're going to compete remain there on the table? Because without Cook at signal caller, we have seen enough from Drew Pine. But does this coaching staff reevaluate in the event that Cook can't go? Does it reevaluate and say maybe a Blood from Southern can give us a better chance, especially with more than a week of preparation? I don't know. The fact of the matter is that nobody knows right now. And in the course of a season that at one point seemed destined for incredibly rich heights, it could shake out in a manner in which you're playing for more of an Independence Bowl-esque sort of situation than anything remotely resembling the Cotton festivities that we saw just a few short months ago.
You've been listening to the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reed on 101 ESPN Sports Talk for St. Louis.